You want to start?
No.
Never. Hi, it's David Cinelli here with
Ariana
and we're realtors with
Royal LePage.
Signature. Royal LePage signature. Makes a difference. Our Royal LePage family is going to watch us. They want to know which one we're from.
Yeah.
No one's watching this. Except us. Okay, we're continuing with Fast Talk Friday, and we're talking about, this is our series about if you are selling a unit or a home that is tenanted, some of the pitfalls or some of the things you want to be aware of while you either before you put up the sale and making sure that you're following all the rules, because it seems like there are a lot of rules which people aren't aware of.
Yeah.
So what's today's topic?
We're going to talk about the forms that you need to fill out
and leases, any kind of paperwork. Yeah, forms and paperwork, all that stuff too. So first and foremost, if you have a tenant in there too, and if you want to sell the property, and say they have a lease that's not a month, it's, say it's a year long, and you're selling it 6 months in. If you're selling it to a buyer, obviously, and they're not using it personally, right? They're not using it personally. That lease that their tenant has precedent over the sale. What does that mean? So
the new investor that buys the place can't kick out that tenant to charge a higher rent, for example. They have to honor that lease.
That's correct. So again, you're in place. Now, if you are a buyer and want to move into the property, and that you want to use it for personal use, that includes yourself, your own caregiver, your family member, etc. It has to be somebody close, not at arm's length away. Then you have to follow some different rules. First off, you have to give at least 6 days notice to the current tenant, and you have to give them what we call do you remember the number?
Incentive or N12?
The N12, yeah. Sorry, my nose is itchy. I don't know why I started that. Yes, it's an N12. So the tenant also has to sign an N12, and which they are agreeing to vacate the property at the time of sale. Because a lot of us, if you are looking to move in, you want to have vacant possession. So in order to have it legal, you have to sign this N12. It's a form from the government, its own landlord tenant board. Now, the caveat to that is that most of the time, if you have to sign that N12, you have to give some sort of incentive for the tenant to sign it. And it might be law, I think. I'm not sure too. So what are we talking about incentive?
An example could be 1 month's rent in terms of actual payment.
Yeah, you have to. A lot of times you have to give the tenant the 1 month's rent back. Sometimes I've seen more, 2, 3, 4 months to get them out. And that's something that, as a landlord, if you are putting up for sale and which you have a tenancy in place, you have to take that into consideration, and also take that into consideration of your price point. Now, we've also had a situation a couple of times where an investor tried to pull a fast one, in which they said, I'm going to move into the property, so I want vacant possession. Signed on the N12, all that stuff too. All of a sudden, it turns out that the investor just wanted to kick out the tenant and get a higher rent. Is that legal?
Nope.
What could happen?
Not good. I mean, a lot could happen. I actually saw a case on the news where the tenant ended up being able to move back in and get 1 year free of rent because the landlord lied about taking it for personal use. So.
Right. In other situations, which is under the law, is like if the tenant moves out, for example, if you're paying $1,000, let's say $1,000, and this happens, move out, and they had to go buy rent for something that's more expensive, say $500. Well, the difference, the landlord actually would have to pay that tenant for whatever period, I don't know if it's a year or 6 months. Anyway, at the end of the day, it could be a lot of money in the long run. If you might be out of pocket for a whole year's worth of rent, is it really worth it at that point? So make sure also what buyers can do is also have sellers from the buyer's perspective say, are you moving into this legally if you want to give us vacant possession? You also want to have that in writing saying, yes, the buyer is looking to use this personally, just to make sure you're covering off your butt as well.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Did I miss anything on that?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
There's a lot of stuff that goes into this, and we're not experts on this. This is just stuff we've seen before. We just also wanted to make that as a disclaimer. If you are having disputes between landlord and tenant, there's the landlord-tenant board in Ontario. Ask those questions. There's many people that work there. Even if it's harder to get by, there's a great website, and there's a lot of this information on there as well. And sometimes there might be some different disputes and things that are happening personally. There's a lot of gray area, but there's some stuff that's just pure black and white that you just cannot do. So if you know you're doing something wrong, just don't do it.
Yeah.
That's always,
It's a good summary.
All right, guys, have a great day. Bye.